Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey there, Dominion fans! Welcome back to the AfterBuzz TV Dominion Recap. I'm your host, Zach Wilson, and we are talking about episode 202, Mouth of the Damned. I feel like I have to say it like that to have the proper gravitas. Thank you for joining us. Joining me on tonight's panel, fantastic Miss Jacque Borowski.
Hey!
And we are going to break down everything that is Dominion tonight. There's a lot in this episode.
Do you know, this is such a random fact, but I was following the Dominion hashtag. William Shatner is a huge fan of Dominion.
Yeah, he was like live tweeting it last year.
I had no idea.
If anyone out there, we'll do this at the top, but I'll remind you guys later. If anyone out there, if you can manage to watch the show live, especially if you're a fan, it's a huge help to keeping and supporting the show. The ratings, I think, were a little lower than they were hoping last week, but I know that this show has a rabid fan base because you guys are crazy big fans in the best possible way. But a way that they're constantly, if you want to watch live, like tons of the cast and the crew and the writers live tweet each airing of the show, whatever time zone you're in. Somebody is live tweeting it. So, go on Twitter, follow Vaughn Wilmot, the showrunner, who, special announcement, segue, next week for episode 203, Vaughn Wilmot, the showrunner of Dominion, will be joining us once again in the studio.
Yay!
I am super excited to have him back. He joined us last year. And he joined us last year and we got some really cool thoughts on how the show was built. So I'm really excited to talk to him about how they went into this new season.
The show has, what's interesting is I watched season 1 in I said interesting again. What is this? I watched season 1 in the span of a week because you can. It's only 8 episodes. And so I had no idea how strong the fan base was, how much the crew and the cast are committed to the show. And someone pointed out on our YouTube video that they have a whole backstory online on the Dominion website. And I got lost on that website in the best possible way. I was just reading story after story after story, and it's such a beautiful website, and it's really well done.
SyFy is really good about using transmedia to really blow out their worlds. On Helix, they had every week there would be a new video that would tie into the next week's episode. They're smart with transmedia, and I think that it's a field that's not used enough on TV these days. SyFy is the network that's taken the biggest swings, Defiance being the largest transmedia swing of all time, with the video game tying into the show, week to week. You can argue whether or not it worked, but they're trying, and so Dominion is another one of those. But let's talk about this episode. I'm really digging this season.
I am. This season, I'm digging it way more than last season, and I think it's because we got out of Vega.
Yeah.
Like I said in the last episode, I was getting a little cabin fever with Vega, and now that we're out, I'm there's so many interesting things happening.
Vega was always a little too complicated for me, because I really like for me, I watch this show for Michael and Gabriel and Alex. That triangle is, for me, what this show is really about. And the other people fill in their stories, but that's who I'm focused on. And so when we've taken a step out of the politics of Vega, now we're getting into the fun of what is this world? How do these people play into this world? So Michael, I want to start with him because I'm really excited to talk about Michael and Mallory.
Yes,
is the name of the town.
Is my absolute favorite, I think, location.
Yeah.
Thus far.
I just want to call it Firetown, though, because
Yeah,
that's a way
it is
more fun
Firetown.
town name.
It has a stick person, a Wicker Man.
Yeah, it's just it's the Wicker Man.
It really looks like the Wicker Man.
It's funny. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. But it's what I love about this is that there's a mystery there.
Yes.
Like, there's legitimately mystery going on here, and I'm like, I want to know the answer. Like, there's like a genuine, like, I need to know.
And
I need to know.
I actually like the fact that nobody knows who Michael is in this town, except for the one character that we do have who learns about him. But I like that era. He gets to have that era of mystery that he had lost in Vega, where everybody seemed to know him, know his business because he was protecting the town. Well, here he's just a mysterious stranger, and I think that adds another interesting element to him.
I think it's also something that's probably, especially since the beginning of the beginning of like after Legion, I guess you could say, like the beginning of the war. He has never really been in a place that people don't know him.
Right.
He's been the Archangel Michael. He's lived in a tower having orgies and
I actually, you know what else I was thinking is I like Michael better without the orgies because I like, and I know this is such a like
how
random.
many times do you get to say that in life?
Right. This is such a random thing, but I like the angels as feeling like separate beings than humans, and it gives him that separation when he's not doing as many like human-like things, I guess. I know that sounds
like he's not being human
like
now.
Yeah, well, I feel like he's not. When I feel like last episode it was almost like he succumbed to all these human emotions, and for me, I wanted to see him get above that because I'm like, you're a protector. You're the guy who's supposed to be taking care of the town, and here you have like problems with your mistresses, and you're getting upset with Alex. And it was just for me, I like to see him be kind of that more like stoic, reserved, like thinking creature that we know he can be versus like emotional turmoil mess, because to me that's who Gabriel is.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're both emotional in different ways. Like, and it's what I loved at the end of last season was how Michael and Gabriel, we sort of, with that big reveal about their past, we sort of got them flipped for a bit in our minds. Like, Gabriel was trying to protect us, like protect humanity, and Michael was like, I'm being told to slaughter, I'm a slaughter.
Right.
And I like that he's now like they both have gone through phases of questioning. And Michael's now, I think, questioning just what it is he's questioning existence.
Yes.
Right? At this point. And he's questioning, because the faith is the big thing, especially in this town, is the big question of faith. Like, what does faith mean in a world where you know for a fact that God exists,
right?
Because the evidence is all around you, and not like people say today, the evidence is all around you. Like, look at the grass and the birds.
No, the evidence is literally there.
Like, the world is being scorched by angels who like know him personally, and
right.
like, are like, no, he like went on vacation and like ditched us. He went out to the store for cigarettes and never came back. Oh man, I feel like that's. But this town is existing in faith, and Michael has absolutely lost his faith because he, for the first time in his existence, doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
He doesn't have the answers or somebody to look to for answers. There's nobody else that without God, there's nobody. He's now in the same place that humanity is at.
Yeah.
Normally, is like, what do I do? There's nobody putting me on a path.
Right. There's no one guiding him.
And so we have this whole conversation about faith with what was it, Laurel, I believe her name is, the leader of the town.
Yeah, this is bad, but I didn't realize we had her name yet.
I hadn't heard it. I looked it up on IMDb. If they said it, I missed it. But the internet solved that problem. But yeah, Laurel, is the town leader, and she starts talking like, all your faith is something, and then Michael's saying, all your faith is something I admire. It's what compels me to stay and search for my own. These people have such strong faith that it is killing the 8 balls around them.
Yes, well, they also have that fire protecting them, and we know that Michael suspects that it is not God, that it is possibly the fans and Zach have thought maybe it's Lucifer. We still haven't met. There are 2 sets of twins, so it's Michael and Gabriel, and it's Uriel and Raphael. Mm-hmm. And so we haven't seen Raphael either.
Yeah, so he's another possibility. He's absolutely another possibility.
It's actually a she. This is things I learned on Dominion.com.
Oh, so they did. The website does confirm that
the
Raphael
website confirms
is
that Raphael's
a
a woman.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
For if Uriel is, then
yeah. So it's 2 guys, 2 girls, and we haven't seen her yet.
God's an equal opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of guy.
So we haven't seen Raphael yet, and we know that there's probably Lucifer out there too. So
I know that when we talked a little bit about this last week, but when we spoke to Vaughn last season, he had some sort of at least thoughts on what Lucifer is up to, and that he exists in this world, but not necessarily. We don't know how quick we're going to get him or if he's around. The fire, I almost wonder if it's a red herring. Like you're supposed to think it's Lucifer, like to make you like get hung up on that theory. But Laurel did specify that a prophet did come to them and tell them to do this. They didn't just do it and it worked.
Right.
Some angel, an angel of some kind, or you could, I guess, argue it could have just been God. Somebody came to the town and told them to do this. Yeah,
and gave them rules to live by. And I think that's, for me, that's one of the most interesting mysteries is like, who is this fire really from? Who is the prophet? And if Michael is able to find this out, is it going to help him get some sort of direction?
Well, I mean, whatever angel it is, he'll know them.
Right.
There's not that many archangels out there, I don't think.
Right.
So whoever it is, he will be. If it's Lucifer, he'll. I would think that Lucifer would be more powerful than him, by nature of just being separate, and like having his own. Depending on if hell exists in this universe, he has his own domain. And that would give him his own power. I wonder if confessing... So the confessing of the sins is a big thing in this town. Like, it's not just lighting the fire, but it's also confessing your sins lets you go through the fire clean. So...
That's a big... It's interesting to me because they take some of their mythology from existing faiths. That's a big thing in the Catholic faith is like... confessing your sins before God. But it's interesting because you also want to encourage people not to continue to do bad things, but at the end of the episode, we have this guy kill Harper, and then he's like, now I'm going to go confess my sin, and you're like...
He was super cavalier about it, too. He's like, I know I confessed all right, but I got some more to talk about, yo. I don't think he said yo, but...
yeah, but it felt like he would have.
Yeah, like that was it wasn't like he did it and he was like remorseful and he like was like it had to be done. I need to go talk about this and get out this sin. Like that's not how confession works. I might be a Jew, but I like know the basic, like it's not just about like saying I did this thing. It's about repentance.
Right. And then it's about making a plan to say, okay, what can I do for my life so that I'm being a better person, so that I'm being a better member of this town. I understand that he thought he was being a good person by protecting Harper, but was the answer really to kill her? I mean, that seemed rather rash. But he is the person who was super angsty last episode where he was like, Michael's in here with his weird clothes being weird and we have to get rid of him.
Yeah.
He's the town problem. He is the town problem.
I wonder if if it is Lucifer, and I'm just latching onto this theory because that's so much fun to have that character in this world, because I think that would just open up the drama.
And it's so ironic because they probably don't imagine. People forget that Lucifer was a fallen angel, and so it's interesting because this town, you would feel like if they knew that they were doing this all for Lucifer, they might feel terrible.
Oh yeah, well, what I wanted to say is that so they're confessing their sins while like their ritual is to put their hand in flame and confess their sins. I wonder if that's like feeding the sins to whoever it is that they're praying to. Like if it's like because it's not, if it's cleansing them of their sins, I wonder if sins are somehow a power that somebody can use.
I feel like the fire thing is another just another mythology, because fire can, in not just water, but fire can have cleansing effects too. Like there are things like steel forged in fire, and characters going through like a fire test. I think that's just another, because the town is protected by fire, I feel like that just would make sense to go along with it.
Yeah, I mean, fire, as much as it brings death, it also brings life. Like there are a lot of like the forests like need to burn certain times to like let new life grow, and like there are certain plants and animals that only thrive in burned conditions. So it's an interesting device. Like fire as a worshipped thing has so many different facets to it. So I'm excited to see who's behind the fire.
Because I feel like fire could represent God or Lucifer, because it's the website makes a specific reference to the burning bush with Moses. And so God is associated with fire in that aspect, but we also have Lucifer associated with fire. So it could go either way, I feel. Like with the big catch could be, oh, this is actually God, when we thought it was something else, or the big catch could be the town has been doing what Lucifer told them to do.
That's interesting. There's one theory I saw online. Friend of the show, Hank09, Hank Otero. He in his recap of this was saying, what if it is Lucifer? What if it's Laurel? What if Laurel is just straight up like Lucifer in disguise?
That would be fascinating.
Now that we know that, if like, because I didn't realize Raphael is a woman, if she's Raphael.
Yes.
Although, no, actually, I take that back. That doesn't stand to reason, because Michael would recognize her. Because
because it's his sister.
Because we know that these are, they're like, unlike the 8-balls, these aren't like, they haven't taken over bodies of humans.
Right.
I guess you could work in some like tricks or like body switching or some kind to hide. Probably wouldn't be that hard to explain away. But now that I say it out loud, like they're either way, cool theory. Before we move on from this whole before we move on from the Laurel, what about when she tried to make out with Michael?
I like that. You know what I liked, and that was another thing. Speaking to my wanting Michael to be less sexually promiscuous, because I feel like there's power in suggestion. So I feel the stronger you create a mystery, or the more you create the idea of something, the more you create tension, that's going to have more power in the story. So when you have a bunch of people just like doing it orgy style, you're like, okay, whatever. Jesse Janity. I want to shout out to Jesse Janity, who is the first DJ the first engineer I ever had when I worked on AfterBuzz, and he's here in the studio, and he was laughing at me for saying orgy.
I mean, you'd be surprised on this show how often you have to talk about orgies.
It's true, Jesse. It is true. You need to watch the show. But I think the suggestion
for the orgy.
Yeah, there's some hot.
Season 1 has some pretty big orgies.
Yeah. So I feel like the power in this scene was the suggestion that something might happen between them, and nothing did. That to me was very powerful. That's why I find this town so powerful. It's like you have all of these mysteries surrounding it. You have this like bizarre sexual tension between him and Laurel, but he's trying to stay undercover, so he makes Harper keep his secret that he's an angel. He is not revealing himself to the other people in the town.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Harper.
I was so bummed out. It was it's funny because a fan tweeted me. I don't mind, but I usually watch this show on the day that we recap at AFTERBUZZ because we have screening rooms here.
I try to watch on Thursday nights, but I'm usually working, so I usually end up watching on Sundays.
So someone tweeted at me about Harper and Rose, and it is a bummer because you're like, I actually really like this character, Harper. I like that she seems to have known Laurel for a long time. They've been buddies, and it's kind of like a light and dark thing where Laurel seems to have found her place in the world, and Harper hasn't. And Harper is struggling with redemption. And I think just as her story was getting interesting, it was cut short. And I was like, that's a bummer.
Harper, I guess what we know about her is that she was living in this town, had an affair with a married man, presumably the dick guy who's just like causing all this problem because he said I love you, so I assume it's him, right?
Well, and the other thing is I wonder if what she said was a lie because the dick man this is his name, the dick man.
I didn't catch his name.
Yes,
he's just the dick
man. He seemed to figure out that she was lying, and I don't know if he was just figuring out that she was keeping Michael's secret, or if he figured out that she was lying about that and maybe she had something even bigger going on.
I don't think she was lying about that because her hand was in the fire while she was saying that she slept with a married man.
Okay.
And she wasn't getting burned while she said that. So that was like getting her through the fire. But it was only when she said, I don't have anything more to say, that she started to get burned. So I think that was true. It's just a question of who it was. If it was that guy or if it was somebody else. And is that, like, Laurel, the town leader, is that her husband?
I hope
they
not.
Haven't really... They have, like... They like, sort of play it that way because of just how much he's around, but they didn't... Nobody's confirmed that.
Right.
I think that probably next week we'll get a little bit of that clarified as to, like, how this town is... Who all these people are in relation to each other.
Yes.
Either way, I want to spend more time there because I'm just fascinated. I think I'm fascinated because Michael seems fascinated. And he doesn't know.
This town, it's not just protected like at close range. Michael has that 8-ball way far away from the town, and just dragging it a little bit closer, it starts burning. Yeah. And so I'm like, this town is really protected. Not just kind of, but like seriously protected.
But with some rules, with some like guiding rules that whoever this prophet is laid down, and they're protected. I want more of Firetown.
Yeah, Firetown.
So before we talk about New Delphi, I'm really excited. Like we got another town.
Yeah, we got another town.
Before we talk about New Delphi and what is going on over in Vega with Rose the 8-ball and Claire. I want to just quickly give some iTunes shout-outs to you guys. Woo! Thank you so much for watching, everybody. All you guys in the chat roll as well. Thank you for tuning in, and the iTunes reviews are absolutely helpful. Like if you haven't heard on our AfterBuzz any AfterBuzz shows before, the iTunes reviews absolutely help us. They help the shows become searchable. They help people know that these shows are watched, that they'll watch them too, and not just to watch the after show, but for shows that are on the bubble. The networks are absolutely looking at social media around it, including podcasts, including how you guys interact with it. It does help the show in the end as well. So I want to give you some shout outs. Carrie Ann 40 says, awesome podcast. I find this podcast to be highly entertaining and a highly entertaining addition to my Dominion viewing experience. The hosts are quick, funny and insightful. I greatly appreciate how they identify and discuss questions I find myself asking when watching the show. I would definitely recommend this podcast to all Dominion fans. Thank you, Carrie Ann. Lana Weiss says, I am looking forward to your thoughts on this episode, especially where the creepy cult town New Delphi and Rose are concerned. Not gonna lie, I was sad to see Rose go. Also, I loved how slick Michael was with his lie that he came there to test their faith.
Well, you know what? That's actually that I found that to be really fascinating, because he says to Harper that he came on behalf of his father to test her, and I'm like, well, as an angel, I guess, like, there could be truth in that. Like, she could believe, like, oh, you came to do this. But it's like, as an angel, you can just go around and F with people. Like, yeah. I'm here to see you, but I'm testing you. You're just fucking with people's minds now.
I mean, if I had wings, that's what I'd do. Like, if I got bored, I'd just walk around like, I am the angel. I don't know.
Because you could get people to get you anything. You could be like, I want your soup because God said so.
I want your soup because God said so. There's worse ways to use your wings, I guess.
It's a test of faith. soup test of faith.
But it does, like, he has power. Like, just being an archangel, he has a lot of power, not just physically.
True.
He has a lot of mental power over humans. Let's talk about New Delphi.
I like how New Delphi is the opposite of Mallory. It's like this gritty, underground, urban town.
This is like the real dystopian town.
Yes.
Like, it's not this little idyllic, like, white picket fence town. It's not this, like, crazy high-tech Las Vegas, like, fortress.
I feel
it's like we carved this out of what was left.
They can have any version. They can have any version of a dystopian town they want, because they've set up this system where there are, like, little city infrastructures all throughout. So you can have the, like, dystopian sand wilderness and fire town, and you can have the industrial dystopia, or you can have the, like, political hierarchy dystopia.
I mean, I guess they have it all, and we don't even know. I mean, and then we have the all, like the matriarchy dystopia future somewhere else in the other city. Helena. Thank you. Mm-hmm. I was like, it's Arca's place. What is it? In Helena. So, like, it's great that they have these different things. It doesn't have to all be the same.
Right.
And that's great. It makes for a great variety. And New Delphi is especially unique because it is not like where Mallory and Vega are humans with, like, maybe a couple higher angels, like, running around. This is just like an integrated society.
And they've trained the 8-balls, or they have the 8-balls as humans, or they've trained them.
It's not really clear.
Yeah.
Like, what exactly it is, right? To me, it felt like the 8-balls were just slightly higher, like, just more normal. Like, they were just like, oh, we can, like, be people here.
Right. And we have it commented on several times in the beginning of the episode how human-like they are, and how Hex, that's the name of the guy who's, like, the leader, right?
Julian.
So Julian says, he's like, we treat them as equals here. And I wonder if they did something to them, like the kind of psychology they used on Rose to make her become more human-like.
Maybe, but this is such a more massive scale. Mm-hmm. Like, it's basically just like all the 8-balls in this town are normal. I mean, what Noma says is that some angels are more evolved than others, but she's never seen them act like that before. So human.
Right.
So you're right. There's something up. It's not just like a slightly higher, like, class of angels that have, like, taken over these, like, or that are these 8-balls. It is the lowest class. What is it about this area? Maybe it really just comes down to being treated like a person.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that be a great twist? Like, it's not like magic. It's not like we teased them with like psychological mind games of like, here's the thing from your former life. You want the photo? Well, you gotta go seduce him. Like seduce a guy and jump off a building.
I do think on a certain level they did approach Rose as more human, where it's like, oh, this artifact reminds you of something. You look beautiful wearing this. There was like a normal-ish conversation happening.
They put lipstick on her and like complimented her.
Right. And I think with the mom who died at the end of last season, for her it was almost the same thing. She was being treated as completely human.
Yeah, so she
I think you have a point.
Emotions.
Yeah.
Like she was treated like a person, so she became a person.
Right.
That'll be interesting. I wonder if Alex is gonna use his newfound exorcism or like exorcist powers.
Yes.
On any of the 8 balls that are there, or if Julian would be like, no, that's messed up.
I do like Julian as a contrast character as far as leaders go as well, because he's a very different type of leader than the other ones. He's just this like, he's kind of like this like ragged head of the Lost Boys.
Yeah. I mean, he's very much like you take care of yourself. Like he's like the basic rules of like coexistence apply. You murder somebody, you're like an eye for an eye is like the basically the only rule.
Yeah.
There.
He's watching Buster Keaton films in his in his boudoir.
That was such a weird choice. Like I guess that was what he found. He's like, yeah, I found this old Buster Keaton like Great Train Robber. It's only like a minute and a half, but I just watch it on repeat for forever. I
do like the effect it gave when they're in there talking or they're fighting, and you have this like this flickering image happening on their faces. I like the effect that gave, and I like the story about are you brave or are you foolish, these decisions that you're making. Yeah.
I mean, it's a fair question. It's a fair question of almost everybody in this show right now. It's like, is what you're doing in your own self-interest? Are you doing what you're doing for other people? Are you doing it for yourself? Are you brave and you're fighting for others? Or are you foolish and you're going to just hurt everyone around you?
Right. Are you making smart decisions? We also know he's drunk. I love that scene where he's like, what should I do? Don't drink all my brandy.
I mean, hey, it's the end of the world. Might as well go out
it's true.
Soaked in alcohol. But I mean, while they're here, they're gonna have to kill one of them potentially, but then he's like, Gabriel's gonna show up, and Gabriel does show up,
right?
With his like 2 like sidekick archangels, or higher angels, I guess, not archangels, and we get some winged combat.
Yes.
Some fighting, and they make a point of saying that this base, that New Delphi has a lot of Empyrean steel, which, if you remember, is the only blade that can that can kill an angel. Michael got stabbed with them last season. And then we got like a simul fight. What do you think of like Gabriel's whole like time showing up here and like his little speech?
I mean, we knew it was coming. I think the information that we take away from it is that Julian starts to not believe Alex, like, whereas Alex did say that Gabriel was coming, but Julian is thinking he came because of you. Like, you brought this down on us. Like, we didn't ask for it, you know? We're not like trying to like offensively fight a war. We're just like living. Right, exactly. And so we of course know that Alex is going to have to come out clean from this fight that he's sending him into at the end of the episode. But this will be his one of his trials as the chosen one. Yeah. Which he shows off his like
So like, why are you here? And he's just like lifts up his shirt, cause of these. And it's like, your abs. What are you doing? Like,
I love though that the kid that they exercised in the last episode. I love that he's like, what, tattoos? What's happening?
I wrote down the quote because it's so good. Because he just goes, nice ink. Is that a bad thing?
I'm glad we have him for comedic relief. When they were like, we have to kill somebody, you or the people with you, and I was like, don't kill the kid. He's funny.
Yeah, I'm like, I almost want Noma to go more than him because he's like a great just like breath of like relief in like this insane world.
And it's interesting because Noma almost gets killed, and instead of like going full on angel, she's still protecting her identity for whatever reason.
Well, I mean, they happened upon these people, and the first thing they saw was a higher angel, like, murdered and, like, pinned to a tree.
Right.
As a warning. So she's like, these people clearly don't like higher angels. Maybe I should stay undercover. And she gets lucky that Julian comes along at that moment and has, like, a shotgun with steel shells.
Right.
It's good planning on his part, I guess. I like that Alex like knew what they like the kinds of bullets. Like he just sees him loading the shotgun. It's like Imperial steel. Nice.
All his years in the Angel Corps taught him that.
Yeah, these custom bullets in a completely other city. He knows what they.
He knows what they are. He knows. That's what makes him the chosen one.
But so Gabriel is like he kills his own guy. I guess it was that I think his name was Nero. Mm-hmm. It's like, is that was it mercy killing?
I felt like it was a mercy killing because wasn't he stabbed to begin with? And it's like, what else is he gonna do? Leave him there to spill out information?
It's fair. Fair. So he's gonna leave and he's gonna like come back with his army, I guess. And I wonder what so at the end, Julian is going to test Alex.
Yes. In this room that nobody else has ever come out alive.
He needs to go in and get a key of like some circular disc. Like get a key that will prove that he is good enough and nobody else has survived it. I wonder what Julian's thoughts are on the Chosen One. He clearly like knows what it is.
Right.
He knows the concept of the Chosen One. But he's like, I don't care. Like, I don't care about, like, the legend of you. You have to be worth something.
I would be surprised, though, if he was one of those people who was, like, in awe of him because of the legend of him. I would think that someone from Mallory might behave more like that towards Alex versus someone.
Well, Mallory, they're worshiping the Chosen One, just the same as in Vega. Like, they have the statue.
Right.
Like the...
I love that statue. It's so funny. I feel like, yeah, someone from Mallory might be more in awe, whereas Julian's just like, all right, come on. Do what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to see proof in front of him.
Right.
He's very much a realist. And again, like maybe that's just why New Delphi has thrived the way it has, is that he's like, this is the world. These 8-balls can talk, so they can probably think, what do they need? I'll offer them that, and then they can help me, and we'll just all live together because this is the world we're in. Why are we gonna kill each other just because we're different?
It's interesting. He makes it. It's almost, even though Julian's the head, it's almost more egalitarian than when you look at something that like Vega, where you're like, this is more organized. But people are set in this class system that they can't get out of. Versus
exactly, like it's weirdly more. They might not be as like fancy. They might not have like planes and bombs and nuclear power plants or whatever, or hydro plants, whatever they have back at Vega. But everybody's on an even keel there. They're all like, it seems like a much more civilized society,
right?
Like at least socially. Well, we'll get into what we think is going to happen with the room once we get to predictions. But before we do, let's talk real quick about Vega. Vega was like a shorter plot line this week.
Yes, we have 2 assassination attempts, or not assassination attempts, but we have Zoe coming to try to kill Claire, and then we have Rose sent to frame David.
Mm-hmm. Rose, the 8-ball who's being trained like a dog by Arica.
Right. For some reason, and I can never tell this with Claire, if she is actually thinking that David sent Zoe to assassinate her, or if she's just using that as an excuse to try and manipulate him or play with him, because I can't honestly imagine why someone like Zoe, who is in a lower class, like why she would think that Zoe would be employed by David or sent out by David to kill her. And he makes a good point where he says, he's like, what would I gain from killing you? It would just cause more chaos.
I think it comes down to who else could it be, and that's a fair question, because I don't have an answer for that.
I feel like Zoe, I feel like 2 things. We don't know what's going to happen to Zoe, but I feel like Claire is going to offer David's position to Zoe. I feel like that's what's going to happen, because she stripped David of his position and she wants to get in good with the lower classes. We had this whole thing with the fire on the levels they gave to the lower class people, and Zoe's telling her they're upset, and so maybe Zoe is the face of a revolution, and maybe she's just going to put Zoe in David's position on the council.
That would be interesting. That would certainly shake up everything that's going on in Vega. It would shift the power structure. There would be instant attempts to help out the V1s and move it into a more civilized society. It's interesting to see Claire attacked verbally by Zoe for not caring about the V1s when she's the one that's been fighting for them. And granted, she's fighting from the throne,
right?
So
and no one knows that she's fighting. And when you're a V1 and you're section of the hotel's on fire and you're starving, you don't see that.
Yeah, you're not she made a good point in that one closed doors board meeting that time,
when she was reading to the children that one time.
Yeah. That would probably actually just piss them off more. Is so she thinks that makes up for it, that she comes down here and reads a book to some little kids. It's that's great, but I'm hungry,
Yes.
And you're going to have a whole chicken when you get home.
Right. And Claire's becoming more of a calculated character, which is interesting. She just becomes more and more and more calculated.
Yeah.
I thought she was all fluff and stuff when I first watched her, the first couple of episodes. And then she becomes very interested in blackmail.
So do you think that there's nobody behind Zoe's assassination attempt? I think it seemed implied that somebody else is assisting her or manipulating her.
I feel like maybe Zoe's part of an insurgent group. Zoe's probably part of a group of people that want to come in and assassinate Claire, and I think it's smart of Claire if she did put Zoe in a position of power, because she's taking someone who is secretive and can fight well, and then you're keeping your enemies close.
Mm-hmm. It'd be interesting. I mean, we're gonna have to find out where. I don't take it at face value personally. I think there's something else going on, and it's just a matter of time before we figure out exactly what it is or who it is that Zoe is the front for. What if it was Arica? I wonder if there's something. If Arica we know that she's manipulating,
of course,
behind the scenes. We see her kill Rose the 8-ball, and
that was a sad moment, because you feel like this 8-ball is finally getting some human qualities and some redemption, and she's gonna get her picture, and she gets shot in the face.
All she wanted was the photo.
I do like the voice of the 8-balls, that it sounds kind of disjointed, over their own voice, because I like that effect.
They're doing 2 voices because there's 2 people talking, really, and it's a really cool way of doing it. Yeah, it's very interesting. Do you have any more thoughts on Vega and Claire and all that?
No,
it's a pretty
that's
straightforward
it. Yeah.
plot line. It's interesting. I'm excited to see what happens now that Wheel is out. I really hope that he doesn't go away because
I like seeing Anthony Head, even though I don't think his character is like a complete villain. I think his character is like white collar crimes. You know, he doesn't seem to me to be like.
It could be more fun with him, though.
I think he has some reason, I should say.
Yeah.
I feel he has some reason in the way he thinks. I don't think he's entirely bad, though.
No, he's not.
And I like seeing Anthony Head in this kind of like complex situation, and I like hearing him put on an American accent. I think it sounds cool.
Yeah, I think this will give him more room to play.
Yes.
Like, as an actor, when you throw him down into the gutter and force him to either climb back up or escape to somewhere else, or what he's going to do with that, I'm interested to see.
Yes.
Let's move into some predictions.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
Okay, next week it's episode 203, The Narrow Gate. And we see Michael confessing his sins. Like, seems like he's full on confessing, like, everything.
I haven't actually watched the previews,
Okay.
so I did not know that.
We see basically all we see is him standing in that church, with the whole town gathered, and he's got his hand over the flame, and he is, I think he's confessing his sins, and like including like when he's like, I passed judgment. I wonder if he's like, there wasn't anything. He didn't say I'm like the angel,
right.
But I think if he's confessing them in enough vague terms, basically,
right.
That like he's being honest with himself without revealing.
Well, I mean, he did say. I mean, he alluded to his situation with Alex. He didn't have to say, "I am the angel protecting the chosen one," but he did say he let Alex down. I mean,
yeah. He said the guy, like a guy who I was more or less a son to me, and I did wrong. I did wrong by him. So I think I think Michael is like, basically he's like, I'm gonna see what happens here. Like, what if I go through this process? Will the prophet, whoever it is, reveal themselves?
Yeah.
Because if you feed, like, if we play with the theory that they're feeding their sins to this person, this angel or whatever, Michael feeding like angel of death level sins, like, they're gonna wake up and be like, whoa, what just happened?
Right.
What's going on in that little town I installed out in the middle of nowhere? And I'm excited to see that. I think what was I gonna say? I think we could see if Arica is trying to maybe game Claire out of the system.
I don't really understand her end game because she's not going back to
Helena. Yeah.
So,
but she's got something brewing.
Yeah, she's got something brewing, but I cannot piece it together right now.
Yeah.
I cannot.
It'll be interesting. And then Alex is going into this chamber. I think it's safe to say there's going to be this moment where the doors open and he walks out with the key and like a bunch of really confused people like in tow behind him that he's just like exercised. Like, he's gotten the angels, they're not 8 balls anymore. And Julian's like, whoa, what? I
do think this is going to be a shining moment for him.
He's going to walk out like, yeah, bro, check out my tattoos. He just lifts up his shirt. Like, that's what I say. Any last thoughts?
No, that was it.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us for episode 202, Mouth of the Damned for Dominion. As we said before, next week for 203, Vaughn Wilmot, showrunner, will be joining us in studio to talk about the episode and the season. Yes, everyone is very excited. So yeah, be sure to tune in that. We're going to be live Monday night at 10 p.m. We will be in that time slot all throughout the season. We've also got some other guests that we're working on, and your viewership helps us get those guests. So hit us on the iTunes. Click that little thumbs up button on the YouTube. It all helps. Thank you for joining us. Jacque Borowski, if people want to keep up with you, where can they find you?
123jackieb.com. That's where my Instagram, my Twitter, everything's on my website.
And you guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Zach Wilson, ThatZachWilson, and also right now on The Strain with Jackie, and on Sunday nights, Killjoys. Guys, I'm Zach Wilson, and thanks for geeking out with us.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.